Hey guys, I'm Lexie Smith, a mom, multi-hyphenate entrepreneur, and the founder and CEO of the PR Bar Inc. coaching platform and agency. In my career, I've had the privilege of guiding countless brands, ingenious publicists, eager students, and ambitious entrepreneurs on their PR journeys. I've danced with the giants and nurtured startups, directed in-house PR departments, lent my expertise to boards, and spread knowledge across universities nationwide. Throughout all of this, I've seen our industry change and evolve while simultaneously proving that some timeless fundamentals remain unshaken. This show takes you behind the scenes of the world of media, marketing, and PR, aiming to teach you all the new tips, tricks, and how the best and brightest are achieving success over SIPs. Now it's time to grow. Welcome to the show. Cloey Callahan is a senior reporter at Digiday Media's WorkLife, where she writes about evolving workspaces and workforces in different areas like technology, spaces, culture, DE&I, leadership, and talent. She's been covering the future of work for the last 2 years. Before that, she covered local news across 6 counties in New York State's Hudson Valley region, where she was born and raised. So, Cloey, your work first came on my radar when my agency was pitching you for an article at WorkLife. You were an absolute pleasure to work with, and both my team and my client loved the final piece. So basically what I'm saying is you're great at what you do, and I'm very, very excited to have you on the show today. Let's kick it off with where is home base and what do you like to do outside of work for fun?
Awesome. Thanks so much for the intro. And I'm super excited to chat today, Lexie. So my home base is still the Hudson Valley in New York. So for people who are familiar with New York, this is about an hour, hour and a half outside of the city, a quick train ride away. And Beacon, New York is home. So this is a place that a lot of people go for weekend trips from the city, but I call it my home every day of the week. It is a little gem. I can go hike the mountains, be outside. They have a cute, like, little main street with shops, and it really has everything. It still has a train station, so I can hop in and go to the city whenever I want. But yeah, for fun, really just spending time outside, hanging out with friends. And when I'm not doing that, I'm in the gym, and usually that's actually boxing with my girlfriend. So that's
Oh,
fun.
how
Yeah.
cool is that? I took a boxing class once. I live an hour north of LA now, but I used to live in LA. And in LA, there's far more studio options than I have. So I did take like once upon a time a boxing class, and I have to say it was one of the toughest but best workouts I've ever done.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to describe it. It is really hard, but I've been doing it for about maybe 9 months now and have met like such a community, and we love going. We love just like getting our anger and stress out from the week, but like we're also getting good at it.
Yeah, I feel like it would be a very healthy outlet. I'm sure there's probably a boxing studio somewhere where I live. I kind of forgot about boxing until literally this exact conversation. It's a fun form of workout. What's the weather where you're at? I'm very West Coast, so I'm not as familiar with your area.
Yeah. Today, I mean, we're definitely getting chilly. It is fall. And that's one thing I also love about being a little bit more upstate than the city. We have like the beautiful leaves changing. I feel like they're finally now have like all fallen, which is sad. It's just like a little bit dreary now, but it's been chilly. But at the same time, I love sweater weather. Super excited to just like have Thanksgiving come right around the corner. I love all of that. So overall, like right now, we're in the middle of fall for sure. But yeah, I just love all the seasons here.
I'm very jealous. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see that she's in a flannel. I am in a sweater, which is very misleading because it's probably 80 degrees outside right now. But I'm in denial of Southern California. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and so I had seasons, and now here I don't, but I'm headed to Denver tonight. So I'm
Oh, nice.
dressed for that situation.
Yeah, mentally preparing.
Mentally preparing. Okay, so born and raised in New York. I want to talk a little bit more about your background, and we're going to transition into something that I call career cliff notes. So think of it like one to two, a couple minutes, like giving us the cliff notes or the highlights of what came before today.
Yeah. So basically, I went to school also in the Hudson Valley. Shout out SUNY New Paltz, a state school here, which I just loved. And when I was there, I was just doing my general courses, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. But one of my friends who sat next to me in a class was on the school newspaper. And I was like, how do I get involved? That sounds fun. So I joined with her and we were doing that for a bit. And it was a great time, but I wanted to do more. So I was kind of over the newspaper stuff. I was like, I want to do longer reporting. So I was like, we need a magazine. I created a magazine at SUNY New Paltz, which was like super exciting. It had me just like, I don't know, practice all these skills earlier on in my career of like building a team, delegating work, all these things that I still use today. And it was really what like sparked my career in journalism. And I only minored in it in school, but I did a ton of internships in the area at local publications that are super small, but also some reporting at the Capitol building in Albany, and even covering some of the first press conferences during the pandemic with the former Governor Andrew Cuomo, of just being like, COVID is here. The first ever press conferences that he did, I was able to sit in on those. So that was like super exciting having that opportunity. And that was also probably the pivot of, okay, I'm kind of over like lifestyle writing and now I kind of want to do news again. So I flip-flopped a little bit. And yeah, then I was like, this is what my career is going to be. I kind of decided at that moment. I graduated college into the pandemic. So I'm a Gen Zer, graduated peak pandemic. It was all the things, very stressful, but was an exciting challenge to still try to get out there and start my career, even though nothing was normal, right? And then, yeah, I started with, again, small publications in the area covering local news. And I absolutely love local news. It's like taught me everything I know, how to like be on a hard deadline, how to find my own sources. We didn't have PR people like pitching these super hyper local publications. So it was all on the ground reporting, which was really all the foundation of what I needed to continue to grow as a journalist. And so from there, I made a step up into the Albany Times Union covering for them. And that is a Hearst-owned paper. So, you know, a little bit more like corporate-esque, like bigger, more money behind it than a super local place. And I was there for a little bit over a year, absolutely loved my team. But we kind of all just like separated, went our own ways. And they have a killer team who's still covering the Hudson Valley and those 6 counties that you mentioned at the top of the podcast here. And yeah, I kind of was like, what's my next step? And I had no idea what that would be. But my overall thing was that I never had like one beat. I was always a general reporter. So when I came across Digiday's posting for a WorkLife reporter, I was like, that is an opportunity for me to like become an expert in one sort of thing rather than just all general stuff. So I applied and I got the job, and yeah, I've been here for a little bit, like, I guess a little bit under 2 years now. So it's been super exciting.
Okay. And so you're the senior reporter today. Is that what your title is?
Yeah, that's correct. So started as just a reporter, and then over the summer, yeah, I was promoted to senior reporter.
Congratulations. I now as a business owner, I like don't get to experience promotion. So I have to like sometimes just be like, you're doing great, Lex, and like pat myself on the back. Let's talk a little bit about what it means for you to be a senior reporter at WorkLife. So what does your day-to-day entail? Is there a day-to-day? Like what are your roles within the organization?
Yeah, so there are definitely some things that are similar every single day. And the crux of that is writing a story a day. So
Wow.
it is a lot of work. There is no rest over here at all. But I like that. I really thrive off like that fast-paced sort of environment. So every single day I file a story to my editor, and then some additional duties as senior reporter for me include I curate our weekly LinkedIn newsletter. I also am the host of Digiday's podcast, The Return, season 2. So that is a podcast all about Gen Z entering the workforce and what that looks like for them and how they've been changing it, things like that. I also have kickstarted our TikTok, which is super
Oh,
exciting. So yeah, that's kind of my day to day. And then on top of that, I try to find time to do coffee chats, do things like this, go on moderating panels, talking to people, and just making connections and networking where I can on top of those daily responsibilities.
this is a quick little squirrel, but I'm like a solid millennial, meaning I'm not an older millennial or younger millennial. There's like a gap. I'm like, I am a millennial. And I tried to, my co-founder and I have a different business venture, tried to go on TikTok recently, and we're like, we're gonna commit to 90 days and we're gonna post a video a day. And let's just say no one likes me on TikTok. I don't know. It never took off. We were like, well, that was a lot of effort. We tried, but I know it's a phenomenal platform. So guys, follow. So is it WorkLife's TikTok?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's WorkLife TikTok. But
Watch
I
the
mean,
tips.
I will say, like, even I'm, I guess, on the older end of Gen Z, and it's even hard for me. Like, when I started editing this stuff, I'm like, how do I do the green screen? How do I add sound? I'm like, there's a learning curve for sure, but it's okay. At least I follow along. Like, where I am very much a Gen Zer is like I scroll on TikTok a lot, so I see all the trends.
It's like I thought I was so funny, and so did my co-founder. We thought we were hilarious, and then we'd get like I think it's either 200 or 300 view jail. We just like couldn't break the cap. Anyways, before I go about ranting on TikTok, okay, so I'm reining it back in. I want to talk a little bit more about the traditional reporting or writing part of your job and the fact that you're producing a story a day. How do you go about curating story ideas? Or let's start there. How do you go about curating story ideas?
Awesome. Yeah. So the number one thing I would say is I'm covering work, which is something that everyone really is having to do, right? So people are always talking about it. Like, think about when you're at dinner with friends or catching up, like, what's the first thing people talk about? It's usually like what's going on with work, what they're stressed about. Like, it's really hard to escape. So I just have my journalism hat on all the time. I'm like, okay, my friends are venting in our group chat about how they are so annoyed that their boss keeps asking them to like help them with technology stuff just because they're younger. I'm like, that's a story idea. You know what I mean? So that is like a number one thing that I do is I'm just always like, what are people talking about that's like really bothering them? And people, I don't know why, I feel like people vent to me a lot. So it's like I always have that going on as potential ideas. But then of course there are the lovely social media and PRs that help me so much. I really don't think that I would be able to write an article a day if it wasn't for people pitching me. So this helps a lot when I'm stuck in a rut. I don't have any ideas. I go through my inbox every day, of course. I often like star story emails that I think would be good to revisit as a potential story to cover, or I'll categorize them when I can. And that just helps keep things sorted and always have something in my, realm of like where I can pick up an idea if I don't have one that week. So that helps a lot. And then other than that, just like scrolling on social, what are people talking about online? TikTok, again, like I'm very much on work talk and like career talk. So that helps. And then just like whatever is trending, whatever people are talking about, I'm like, all right, let me dive in there. And then yeah, go from there. But like I said, it's a lot doing a story a day. And sometimes it's hard finding all of those sources. So I would be lying if I said I didn't rely on working with PR folks and also websites like Quoted and Press Plugs, things like that. They really do help get my story ideas out there, find sources, and so on.
What in your I'm writing something down actually, because I've never heard of Press Plug. So I'm gonna have to look at that. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, same idea as Quoted.
Okay, cool. I learned something new today, so thank you. I've learned a lot of new things today. Okay, so sources, let's dive in there a little bit. What to you makes one source stand out, or what gives a source merit versus another? Because I would imagine you're probably getting a lot of people reaching out saying like, I'm an expert, or like, I can talk about this, and yada, yada, yada?
Yes. So it can be a challenge. And like, to be honest, sometimes I do get on calls with people who their PR person like framed them perfectly, and then they get on and they're like, what are we talking about? They're not the person, and clearly it wasn't a fit. Like, that happens, and it sucks because it's wasting both of our times. Like, unfortunately, that fit just isn't going to work. You're not going to make it in the story. Like, we're trying to make puzzle pieces fit where they just don't. And so that happens, and it is a bummer. Hopefully I learned something else within that call, maybe a different story idea. That's why it's easy to rely on sources that I've talked to before and know that they are going to be a solid person for this story. But again, it's like a game. I don't want to go to the same source too often. So when I do find those new sources, it's, really making sure that they're the right person. And if I get it through someone emailing me, a PR person, it's just like, let me do my own due diligence of researching this person, checking out their LinkedIn, what they've talked about before, things like that. And I'm not a fan, of course, of like sending questions ahead beforehand, but sometimes if they're like, can you tell us more details about the story? If that is required to make sure that the person actually has something to say about it, then I'm okay with doing that. So we both are saving everyone's time. I'm not going to ever send like, here's the questions I'm going to ask, because that doesn't make any sense as a journalist. But yeah, I do just try to be mindful. I research them as much as I can. And then I just like kind of hope for the best. And if it doesn't work out, then at least I know for next time. Or, it also helps when I have like a PR person that I have a connection with and know I can trust. Like, if one PR person has time and time again given me sources that have been amazing, have really been exactly what I was looking for, then I know I can trust that person if they send me someone new. So it's all those things combined.
Did you know that I send out a community newsletter roundup every Tuesday, chocked full of resources, media kit downloads, journalist contact information, event invites, visibility opportunities? Basically, if you're not on the list, hit pause and sign up. It is super simple. All you gotta do is go to theprbarinc.com/newsworthy. That link is in the show notes too. Okay, back to the show. Actually, you're highlighting something that I want to pull out too from the publicist perspective, because I know this to be really powerful. Prepping your client accordingly for these interviews is not only to their benefit, but as Cloey, you just highlighted, it's to yours as a publicist or as a firm's benefit, because they're connected to you now, and the validity of how they show up is going to be attached to you, right? So if you need a little extra motivation, if you're a publicist who's listening to this, about media training or preparing or giving a proper brief for your client, make sure they are going into these meetings prepared so they look good and you look good, right? It's a three-way street, really. And the journalist, it's like a multifaceted relationship here. So let's dig into the actual pitch for a second, because you do your own research, but are there certain things that are helpful for a source, whether they're pitching themselves or a publicist or a PR company, an in-house brand, whomever it may be, presenting the source to include? Like, do you like when there's media kits? Do you just want the bio and a link to LinkedIn? Like, what do you care about in terms of sources?
So I guess it is like the pitch as a whole. Like, I love when someone sends me a pitch of like, okay, why are you sending this now? And then after that, getting into the source. And I like it pretty much just straightforward. This is who the person is. This is their bio, their LinkedIn, that sort of thing. And this is why they're the right person to talk about it. I feel like when I have that is like chef's kiss. What I really like actually is when they can say, I have this person and a couple more. And that is like, I really, really appreciate it. And I also appreciate it when they're from different companies. So like when that PR person maybe is representing a few different folks, and all of them have something similar that they can pitch to me about something going on right now. So it really makes my job a little bit easier. So I don't need to go find a second source. All of our stories need minimum two sources to
Okay.
get over the line. So we never here at WorkLife publish a story with just one source. So I get pitched just one source and then I find the other on my own. But when a PR person can send me like, hey, I have this idea and here's 3 people who can talk about it from 3 different places, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, you just made my life so much easier. So I really, really appreciate that. But I know it's not always probably possible to like find a connection between like everyone you're, working with. But it definitely does help. So yeah, the more unique that the pitch is, the better. Because there are things in the future of workspace that are time and time again pitched, like things around leadership and development. AI right now is huge, DE&I. It's like these things are great, but I need more than just like, oh, we need better leadership and development. Like we know that. So like let's get super niche, super interesting, and like that's going to make me more interested in writing about it.
Well, what I think is interesting too, and something maybe I haven't thought about in a while, is the presentation of multiple sources. And something I want to call out for anyone who doesn't have the option on their own client roster. I think this is a use case that is pro being a collaborative human and being willing to throw other publicist clients or genuine other people's sources a bone, even if you don't have any financial benefit. You'd be helping Cloey, you'd be helping your client, you'd be helping the relationship, right? So I'm like very like pro, like we don't need to be enemies, like let's all work together. But anyways, soapbox done. That was gold. You guys, if you want to pitch Cloey or WorkLife, like tap back, tap back, tap back. She just gave you a lot of insider tips into what she finds helpful. So I appreciate your transparency there.
Yeah.
One tool that I've personally noticed that you utilize a lot is, I don't know if I call it Twitter anymore, if we've adapted X. So I keep going like Twitter X. I don't,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And so people have so many opinions on the platform since its rebrand. I'm just curious to know if you have any opinions on if you think it's going to be a platform that journalists continue to use, or if I know you are at the moment, but I don't know, just any thoughts on Twitter as a place for sources specifically.
Yeah. So I know a lot of journalists have decided to leave Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it, like you said, which is, I understand that decision. I do. For me, I've still seen success on it. I've had people reach out to me. I have people reach out to me all the time through it. So I appreciate that. I tried Threads. I don't really know if it's for me. I don't even know if they have like the hashtag usage yet. Like I know that was a big thing in the beginning where you couldn't even there was no hashtag, so you couldn't do hashtag journal request, which is like my favorite thing ever. So yeah, for now I'm on it. I don't know if it will change. Here and there I'll do call outs on LinkedIn, which I do find that people reach out to me there. It's more like the source directly rather than like a PR person finding my stuff. And I have some success, but I still do find a lot of success over Twitter. So I'm going to ride the wave. I don't know. Maybe that will shutter eventually. It definitely could, but we'll see.
I hope it doesn't. And maybe that's like me being old set in my ways, but I too have found so much value from the platform in this lane in our industry. And Threads, I like was on it when it was like trending for a minute, and then I wasn't. And so I don't know what has evolved. I have an account floating out there somewhere, but
Yeah.
I'm on the wave with you for sure. So I kind of want to shift gears for a second, because you mentioned briefly that you're a host of a podcast yourself. So quick, first, can you tell us what is that podcast again, and what it's about? Let's start there.
Yeah. So the podcast is called The Return. We had season 1, which was hosted by my colleague, Kamiko McCoy. And season 1 was all about the return to the office. And it was following an advertising agency as they went back to the office after the pandemic. So season 2, we decided to pivot and we thought about the return a little bit differently as Kamiko handed it off to me to host this season. And instead of like, what's the return like for any worker? What is the return like for a Gen Zer who's entering the workforce and has never been in the workforce before, right? Like, it's not really a new normal for them because they've never had a regular like experience at all. So it's super interesting and very relatable for me because like I mentioned earlier, I graduated in 2020, so that was peak pandemic, right? So it's super exciting throughout the season. It's 8 episodes. We're rolling out now the 5th episode. Well, I don't know when this comes out, but we will be done record or publishing it in middle of December. All 8 episodes will be live then if you want to listen back. And each episode is a little bit of my own experience mixed in with Gen Zers and then like a seasoned expert of like why it's important for older generations in the workforce to understand this upcoming generation.
Okay, so it's done recording, not filming. Woof. I kind of want to ask a similar question because we're now in a different format of media, right? Audio is a different format. There's a lot of crossover, but in terms of how you went about selecting those sources or curating the story ideas for the podcast, was that process the same or different than how you're going about the story creation for the digital platform?
Yeah, I love that question. So very different. First of all, this project was started back in January, so it's been like a super labor of love. It has been a full 12 months by the time we're done with it completely. So it's a whole year long and it was really different. Like I said, for my daily articles, I rely a lot on people who are in my inbox, things like that. But for the podcast, I feel like I went a little bit back to my like local journalism roots where I was like, I'm gonna really do all of this myself. I'm gonna find like exactly who I want to talk to and like reach out to them on my own, like cold email them, get them on this podcast, that sort of thing. So very different. I didn't really put out any PR like journal requests for this one. I think there were like 1 or 2 episodes where we were struggling to find a source, but for the most part, this was all just like, okay, I'm going to do full blown my own research and really dive into it, which took a lot of time. Like I can't do that basically with like other pieces and writing and that sort of thing. I will say now that the episodes have been coming out for about a month now, people have been reaching out left and right. Like, I have this great source. Like, can I get them on the podcast? And I'm like, oh, like it's done. The podcast is, there's a ribbon on it. Like, we're not accepting anyone else. But with that said, we got so much of that we were like, you know what, for our final episode, we'll let people know ahead of time. They can call in if they want to like leave their 2 cents sort of thing to give people an opportunity to reach out and have their opinion included that way. Because a lot of people do want to talk about like Gen Z entering the workforce, but this sort of thing, I'm going to reach out to PR folks to let them know for the people that reached out to me, this is happening. If your person that you're representing wants to get on the podcast, there is this opportunity, which I think will be, I don't know, it's kind of like meeting in the middle. Like we can't have you on all the way, but like, I know I've had some really great people reach out to me saying like, this person would be an awesome source. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Well, bless you. You're wonderful for doing that. I'm always thrilled to hear because the unfortunate reality is there are journalists existing that are very anti anyone in the world of PR. I mean, there's whole X Twitter threads like bashing publicists. So anytime there's like a meeting of the middles, it warms my heart because I love both sides of the industry as well.
And that's interesting. And I work with a lot of people who are like, who cares what PR is like, don't work with them, skip them, like get to know the source and just go directly to the source. And I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, our jobs are crazy. I'm like, let's work together.
100%, 100%. I have like 5,000 more questions on that, but per me and everyone who's listening, because I feel like I've been saying this a lot lately, I'm trying to keep this on time so you guys can listen to the full episode on your nice car ride, and you are expecting this to be around 30 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of abruptly shift into what I call like a rapid fire preferential questioning. So no right or wrong. It's just like when you're receiving pitches or outreach, do you prefer X, Y, or Z? So are you ready?
Yes, let's do
Okay. So is there a day of the week you prefer to be pitched?
it. Definitely not Friday. That is all I will say. Like, do not email me on a Friday. If you pitch me on a Friday, like the chances of me following up on it are like super slim.
Okay. Time of day.
No preference again. Like I know we're all on different coasts now and everything, like with remote work, everyone's everywhere. But I will say as much towards like the middle of the day, the better. Because I do try to wind down towards the end of the day.
Okay. Pleasantries or not. So like, do you want someone to take a minute or two to like prove or address that they know you and your work? Or do you want them to just like skip that, get straight to the pitch?
I would say I would rather, it's like, I don't know, a balancing act because I do like when someone's like, how are you? What's going on? And I do think relationships are crucial for like, okay, I'm gonna follow up because when I have a relationship with the PR person, that means like I want to answer them a little bit more. It's like harder to ghost them if we have a relationship. But at the same time, if you're sending me a list of like, how was your vacation? What's new? What's going on? That's too much. I'm like, I just can't respond to all of that. So it's like a little bit in the middle.
Okay. Publicist versus in-house versus founder. Do you care who is pitching you?
No, as long as it's a good pitch, I don't really care.
Okay. Are you pro or anti follow-ups?
I'm pro follow-ups to like one time, I would say. If it's too much, like after one or two follow-ups, it's a no. I don't have time to answer everyone, which I feel like most journalists say, but it is true. But one follow-up I do appreciate. Sometimes I'm so slammed and I truly did miss it, and the follow-up can go a far way. So I do appreciate that.
Okay. So social media DM pitches, yay or nay?
More nay. I tweet a lot, but my email's right in my bio. So please just, take the tweet, then email me. I'm not like, oh my God, I hate it, I'm gonna ignore you. I still answer, but let's just move it to email.
So you're on Twitter. Are there any other platforms? And you mentioned LinkedIn. Do you use Instagram at all for your work, or is that private? Or are you not on it? I don't know.
I have a professional Instagram account, but I really don't use it. Definitely for pitches and sharing my work, it's mostly just LinkedIn and Twitter.
Okay. Beautiful. Last question of the show. We talked about Pitchin. What can we find you sipping? So, what is your favorite beverage? It can be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, of course.
Okay, right now it's just a cranberry seltzer with a lemon in it, no
Ooh,
alcohol.
cranberry seltzer with a lemon in it? So, like, not
Yeah.
cranberry juice, like sparkling cranberry juice? Is there a difference?
We like just make, yeah, I don't even know. I'll just take like usually a lime seltzer, Poland seltzer, and then like a splash of cranberry juice, put a lemon in it, ice, and yeah, that's my favorite.
Very refreshing, although cranberry too is like very headed into holidays. So,
Yes.
and now I'm already like articulating through, I'm like, I could easily add a little bit of alcohol if I want to bring
Oh,
it
yeah.
into the evening for me.
Oh yeah. On Fridays, there's for sure a splash of that.
There we go. Okay, so where's the best place when everyone's listening to this and they want to reach out to you? Where should they go to connect with you further?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Cloey Callahan. For those listening, it's Cloey Callahan, Callahan. And my email is chloe@worklife.news. So I would say there, and also LinkedIn, same thing. You can just search my name and follow and all the good stuff. Reach out anytime.
Thank you so much for your generosity, for your transparency, for taking the time to be on the show. You guys, we will put all the links in the show notes. Make sure to listen and leave a review for her podcast. As a fellow podcaster, also, if you've never reviewed the show, give me a review, please. But go follow Cloey, reach out, let her know you heard her on the show. Thank her. And Cloey, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Lexie. It was a joy to be on, and I appreciated all your questions.
Hey guys, if you are enjoying the Pitchin and Sippin podcast, please do me a huge favor and leave a review wherever you are listening. If you want to connect with me to learn more about the PR Bar Inc., you can do so on Instagram at @thePRBar_Inc., or you can check out my website at theprbarinc.com. Cheers!